And then there's a little sequence where the camera pans across the faces of the men that are on the jury in this film, and with each different face, it's just a more angry looking man. The further it goes, the more angrier and uglier these guys get. And I was in absolute stitches by the time they got to the end of the first row. And then when they went to the second row, it was just brilliant. Legends, we're getting into another little review from the Laurel and Hardy box set in this episode. This is Prudence from 1927. On a Google search, it's also called Jewish Prudence, but it's not that on the box set, so we're just going to go with Prudence on this one. Now, it doesn't star Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. It doesn't even co-star Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. But it does say, just before you hit play on the box set, Prudence, a classic Hal Roach comedy starring Max Davidson, main character in it, reportedly written by Stan Laurel, so that is why it is included in this box set. This one here, for a short silent film, it is a bit of a slow burn at the start. Give it the first 5 minutes. At any point throughout that first 5 minutes of the film, I could have jumped out of it, knowing that Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy weren't going to show in this short. But I'm glad I stuck with it, guys. By the time we got to the second half of this film, I was in absolute stitches, especially in the courtroom scene at the end of the movie. Basically, Max Davidson has a son, has two sons and a daughter, and there is a guy that has just got his law degree, wants to marry the daughter, and Davison is like, you know what, wait till you win your first case and then you can have her. So that's all fine and well. He disappears off. We meet two of the two sons next, and these two guys are absolutely useless. That's the only way you can describe these two characters in this film. They've got no common sense whatsoever. And, you know, Max Davidson is trying to get them jobs in this movie. And the firstborn son, he buys a truck for him. You're getting into the trucking business. And there's a few good slapstick moments where he's trying to teach the son how to drive this truck. It's like a tipper truck, and first of all he manages to reverse it into the garage of the house, destroys it, and before he leaves in the truck, Davison pulls a handle on the side of it while telling him how to work the thing, not realising that he's actually lifted the tipper bed of the truck. So when the son goes to drive out from the house, there is like a little alleyway between the two houses, and there's like a roof across it, and like a narrow floor to the roof is above this part where the truck drives under, and he takes the entire side of the house out. And yes, things are going from bad to worse for poor Max Davidson in this film. With the second son, he decides he's going to try and take him to get a new job. There's a Charleston dancer needed for a little bar club area. They try to go for that there, but there's a little guy, young kid in before him, that just has all the talent to get the job. So Davison and the son leaves, thinking they're beaten. When they get out onto the street, they notice a bus that has been overturned by a streetcar, and Davis comes up with the idea of sneaking his youngest son into the wreck, and then going to court and trying to get money for the injury. And there's an ingenious little sequence in here where they're trying to get around the insurance investigators. There's a little seat in the house where the son is laid up. Davison has told him that he's got no feeling in his left leg. He's paralysed, and they cut a hole in the seat so the son can put his real leg through it, and they put like a fake leg in place of it, then put a cover over him while the investigators come in. So that, Davison is, check out my son, he can't feel nothing in his leg, and like he's hitting this fake leg, and he actually sticks a knife in it at one stage just to prove that the son can't feel anything. And the investigators, there's two of them, there's only one's come into the house, and he's completely, he doesn't know what to say, he hasn't seen anything like this before, and he sticks the knife in the leg a couple of times, and the son's lying there, and he's not reacting at all. He's like, can't feel a thing. And the investigator leaves, and Davison thinks that he's going to leave completely, but he brings in the other investigator. The son has got up at this stage, taken the fake leg away, and he's up off the little seat bed sort of thing. Davison gets him to sit down again quickly, but they don't have time to reset the fake leg, so they have to go through this whole thing again, but with the real leg this time. So the son is there getting his knife jammed into the shin bone of the leg, and he's just trying his hardest to not react to it whatsoever. And eventually the two investigators are they're kind of content with what they've seen, and you're going to get at least $10,000 for this. So they go to leave, and as they do, Davison and the son are jumping in the air in the sitting room, dancing and getting on that they've actually got away with this plan. And the investigators decide to come back in again. They've forgotten something, and they see the two of them dancing. So that leads into like a court case at the end of the movie. And throughout this whole sequence of the movie, it's getting good, but again, it's not something that I was getting any real big laughs at. I was enjoying the movie, don't get me wrong, the movie is good, but this last court sequence there is, he is up in front of the judge, Davison, and he's trying to go through the story again about the son not being able to dance and whatever. And the first thing you notice in this scene is the guy that's prosecuting him is the same guy that wants to marry Davison's daughter. So it's it's an awkward situation for everybody involved, but he is intent on winning the hand of Davison's daughter, and unfortunately has to go against Davison in this case, and he's out the one basically. And the funniest part for me in this movie was, of course it's a silent short movie, so you're getting a lot of text up on the screen telling you what's going on, and Davison is hoping for a sympathetic jury. And then there's a little sequence where the camera pans across the faces of the men that are on the jury in this film, and with each different face, it's just a more angry looking man. The further it goes, the more angrier and uglier these guys get, and I was in absolute stitches by the time they got to the end of the first row. And then when they went to the second row, it was just brilliant. That's the great thing about these little movies here. It's the smallest little things in there that end up in the funniest sometimes. Now, some of the stunts in these movies are absolutely fantastic, and I wasn't expecting much out of this movie, but at the very end of it, they've lost the case and they're leaving, and the guy comes out, the lawyer, and apologises to Davison. He's like, what, I'm sorry, but I wanted to win your daughter's hand and I had to do it. Davison isn't happy at all about this, but the daughter sweet talks him, and he says, what, he's a smart kid, you should congratulate him, and basically gives his daughter over to him, and him and the youngest son jump into their Model T to leave. And as they're going down the street, this truck barrels around the corner, takes out their car, and I mean, like, absolutely just destroys the car. And typical slapstick style, like, is just, there's not a slight knock on an automobile in these movies, and it's it's devastation. And that's what happens in the end of this movie. So Davison and the youngest son are in this wreckage of a car in the middle of the street. There's this truck behind it, and the lawyer runs across with the daughter, and he's like, "No, lie still. I'll get you $20,000 for this." And Davison's like, happy days. He said, check who the driver works for. And the driver of the truck looks out from the side of it, and it is the oldest son. So that's it. He's beat at the end of the movie. It is actually very, very good. And as I say, it's the same with a lot of stuff in this box set. Like, there's tons of little movies in here that aren't necessarily full blown Laurel and Hardy movies. They're movies that they've been involved with in some way, shape, or form. Either they're co-starring in it, or before the team up and whatnot. And as I say, this one here, Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, were neither starring or co-starring in it, but Stanley is, like, it's not even. I was checking the opening credits of the movie, and the writer doesn't have a credit on it, but it says on the box set that he's reportedly written this short film. So, yes, give it that first 5 minutes, but by the end of it, I was in absolute stitches and so happy that I checked this one out. And yes, we're almost there, guys. The next episode is going to be the tribute to the boys, so come back for that one.